Hi everyone, so Season 5 has been out for a little while. I've already leveled 2 characters to 100 and had a really good time. The first build I played was on a Sorc. I played a little bit of Fireball, Blizzard, and then eventually the Lightning Spear Frozen Orb combo. That was a really cool build. And then I also made a Rogue, which you can see here in action right now. This is an Aerostorms Rogue that I was actually personally quite hyped for. Aerostorms has been really buffed in Season 5 and it shows. So what you see here right now, this is a relatively crappy geared rogue that I was playing. I was kind of somewhat fresh 100 here. I had 1 or 2 uniques and my master working levels were like 4 out of 12 or something. And I'm cruising through those pits here. So this is pit 90 and you can see everything is kind of just insta dying. This was just kind of like a pretty comfy farming tier for me here on hardcore. And even at this stage, I would probably be able to get really close to tier 100 at a similar pace. So I just wanted to kind of like show this off again. I did make a max troll guide and a video for this build already, so I'm not going to go into all of the details yet again. It turns out that the setup has not really changed anyway. So pretty much exactly what I had here crafted before is exactly what I've in the end like played in the end. And there was like some minor tweak. For example, I put in shared misery aspect instead of like concussive strikes aspect in my boots, and that was pretty much about it. I also tried out a new Shroud of Kandura's unique, the chest that allows you to pull enemies together, which is actually really amazing for this build. You can see this in action here. Sometimes when I evade, it will pull all the enemies, and it just feels really good here. As you dash in, you evade all together, and then all the arrow stones will hit the entire pull, and they will pop. So it's really cool. And together with some of the crowd control effects, and for example, the Car of the Nameless that was buffed to now have also crowd control duration. And for example, a Fist of Fate that has lots of crowd control effects. You can also stagger bosses extremely quickly, which is crazy. So you can see this here. When I walk into the boss fight, I will stagger them in seconds. You see this? Like this was like 3 seconds or something. And most of the time, shadow bosses don't even appear. And if they do, well, there's like one thing you might have to dodge or something, which is not a problem. You have dash, shadow stab, whatever. And you just have the arrow stones going anyway. So you don't even lose damage uptime. So it's pretty crazy how good this build was. And I played it from level 1 actually. The good part about the Aerostorms Rogue is that there's only 2 aspects that you need to make the setup function, and they're both from the Codex. So you can just go and complete those 2 dungeons, which is what I've been doing here. So I started a Rogue, I just went with Pen Shot and then cleared those 2 dungeons basically. And after like level 10 or something, as soon as you have 2 yellow items that you can imprint with offensive aspects, you can play this build right from the get-go. And then it just kind of gets better and better as you go. So you see here, and this was like a fresh rogue. I twinked it out a little bit with like tempers and stuff. But yeah, I went to like level 70 from 1 on hardcore in like less than 3 hours. It was like 2 hours 45 or something. So it was really fast. And for example, here I went capstone at like level 18. Just kind of like walked in there with some elemental surge tempers and the arrow storms. And yeah, I would destroy stuff pretty fast here. So the entire build is based around these like a hit procs, and so elemental surge also works really well in those early stages of the game. I went with elemental surge damage all the way through like level 50 or something here. And you see this here, I just went to like level 35, equipped a few sacreds, and then I just went straight to world tier 4 basically. Focus a little bit on the defense so that you actually don't die, because you have enough damage just leveling up like this. So it was a really smooth experience. And you see here, for example, Elias Capstone is here. And he also just died really fast when I went in there. So you can see this. There's Elias fight. This is also like just seconds basically. So this is what this looked like with elemental surge plus arrow storms at level 43 at that point. Yeah, and then it was just kind of like a rush all the way through Nightmare Dungeons. I did a bit of Infernal Hordes. That also worked pretty well. And it is actually pretty fast leveling build, I gotta say. So that was working really well. I'm not sure if it's the best one. So Barrage might still be better, but honestly, it is kind of close at the very least. So if you want to play Arrow Storms, it turns out it's a very good build. Currently, we have it ranked in B tier on the endgame tier list. I'm not 100% sure if we were going to move it up, maybe to A or something. We'll discuss this next time in the meeting, I guess. But yeah, overall, Aerostorms has definitely turned out to be a really good season starter, as I had hoped and predicted. and I can just recommend you guys to try it out if you're making a rogue. And you can also see this clip here, for example, where even before I even reached level 100 on my rogue, I was still able to just kind of cruise through those tier 100 9-pin dungeons, for example. So my glyph XP was going up like crazy, and I was easily able to farm those plus 30 level monsters in 9-pin dungeons, and whenever I went to the next world tier and so on, and still live because of the dark shrouds. Now, of course, a big enabler here is the Umbrus aspect to actually survive. A lot of people tell me that they get unlucky and they don't even get it all the way to 100 or close to that. One tip I can give you can go to the Alchemist, especially if this is like a twink of yours. You can craft those Alchemist leveling caches when you are very low level, and those usually give you a lot of class-specific aspects. So you might be able to get an Umbrus aspect there. Otherwise, you can try to gamble, for example, for pants or something like that. So yeah, this is what I have to share here about the Aerostorms rogue. It was a really smooth experience, and I'm excited to also try it more when I get the chance. I just want to highlight here, there's the Aerostorms rogue build guide. This is here on Maxroll. This is one of our specialized rogue builds. So we made like this type of template here. You can find it also here in the description, of course, on YouTube. And otherwise, I will also link my old video guide where I go more into detail about how everything works. But it's a fairly simple setup. Just go for those two aspects here, Vengeful and Aerostorms. Those will carry you. And then in the early game, also some elemental surge tempers on your weapons, for example. And it effectively plays a little bit similar to the Season 4 Andariel's rogue, if you know that one. Just Puncture and Flurry for an attack speed buff. So this is mostly a support tool here. This is not a Flurry build, as many people wrongly call it, basically. Flurry does not do any damage here. This is only to dash around. This is for the attack speed buff and the core points. And then you just puncture away to proc those Aerostorms. In fact, in the late game, you can also go for a Heartseeker setup that works basically exactly the same. You just change the skill, you change the Puncture temper to Heartseeker temper. This is something for very late when you have a lot of extra like a hit and attack speed bonuses, and you can trigger those Aerostorms reliably because there's a cap of only 7 Aerostorms. You get to the point where you will cap out pretty regularly, especially on boss fights. And then with Heartseeker, you can use the power of a crossbow, which just has more damage per shot, basically, meaning more damage per Aerostorms. So this is kind of like the late game version of this once you have everything. So when you get something like alchemical advantage ranks on your neck, for example, and you have, for example, a really good Fist of Fate, then you can get to that point where Heartseeker is something like 20% stronger or so, and you can squeeze out a bit more damage. But yeah, overall, this will be no problem going to at least pit tier 101 to farm those Leaf Iron materials, or probably even like tier 7 Infernal Hordes should be not really such a struggle once they have a decent setup. So you can see everything here in the guide. Otherwise, watch my other video, and just wanted to kind of get this out here to show you guys the power of the Aerostorms rogue. Let me know what you think. Maybe you have tried it, or maybe some other really cool build that I haven't covered yet on the rogue. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you guys next time.